Hello again from my front porch, where it is actually a little bit of a stuffy day here in Iowa. It's overcast. It's like the weather can't quite figure out if it wants to rain or not. It's dark that direction and sunny that direction, and so I guess we'll see as the day progresses on here who wins out. Which it's almost like the heat miser and snow miser, but now it's like sun and rain misers. But anyway, in fact it's so muggy here that I actually opened a couple of windows to the front porch, so you may hear a little traffic noise in the background that you normally don't hear because I have the windows closed. But yeah, it was just like oppressively stuffy out here right now because the sun just beats in here and then it just sits here because there's no air circulation with the windows closed. And so I opened up a couple windows, let some air in here. Anyway, what I wanted us to chat about today is the concept of self-service, and specifically how it has evolved or devolved, however you want to look at it. But I mean, you see people both lauding and criticizing the self-service thing, and what it basically is the increasing amount of situations in which we, the customers, are put in the role of actually being our own clerk, our own cashier, to place orders. And it's everywhere from grocery stores to airports, when I go to shops and airports, to fast food restaurants. I mean, there's just a wide variety of options in which, I'm not even talking about online stuff. I mean, online you do everything, obviously. I'm talking about where you literally physically are at a place, and normally there would have been somebody there to take your order, and you would have given your money to them or your method of payment, whatever, and they would have processed it. But now you are expected to handle all of that transaction part yourself. And so, like at the fast food places, there's all the discussion about like a McDonald's and stuff where they've got those kiosks in where you can go in and you can select your stuff and place your order, and then you get a little slip that here's your number, and they'll call your number and you go and you pick it up. Now, I remember, in the old days, and there still are some places where this is true, but like in the airports, where there'd be a McDonald's, and there'd be the long line of people winding to get to the register, where you'd have the traditional cashier person there, and you'd look up and you say, I want this. You give them your payment, and they give you the number, and you go stand up the side. It's that same end concept, but all of that stuff at the beginning is now just you. You just step up to a kiosk, and put in your little payment, and then there you go. You go stand up the side with your slip of paper. Now there's still, at this point at least, people in the kitchen who are doing all the prep stuff, and then somebody puts it out there, and you can even in these scenarios where they're putting the food together, you can even see up on a monitor, you can see where you're progressing, where your number is on the screen. Is it in preparation? Is it, a lot of them have that kind of thing up there. In airports, there's increasing number of the little snack shops, gift shops, whatnot shops, whatever you want to call them, that have at least partial self-service. They may still have a clerk who's there, or a couple of clerks doing cashier kind of things, but they also now increasingly have these self-service checkout options, where you get your few items and you can go up and you can just scan it yourself, and you can do that, and maybe one of the cashier person will look over and go, do you need any help? And nope, I'm good, thank you. And then when you've made your payment, there's a light that says green. If it's open, then you start to do your stuff, and it turns red or yellow or some other color to let everybody know, no, this lane is closed. And then once the transaction is done, you put your payment in and you got your stuff, and then it turns green again, so that everybody knows, including the cashier person or the people there, that you actually paid. You're not walking away without paying. Okay. And then you got the grocery stores, the same kind of thing, where there's some lanes with cashiers, but then there's also these lanes with the self-service, where you can go in, and some of them even have a scale kind of thing, where if you got produce, you can set it on there and they'll weigh the produce thing for you. Grocery stores, Walmarts, Targets, all that kind of stuff that they have these kind of options there, these kind of self-service things where you are literally, scanning all the barcodes yourself, either with the gun or swipe them across there, that you are weighing the stuff, that you're, if something doesn't come up, it might even cue you to type in the code so you can, all the stuff a cashier would normally have done, you're doing yourself, and you're bagging it yourself, so that you can leave. Now, why does that exist? Why did companies go down that path? Why do the McDonald's and the restaurants like that have the little kiosks out front instead of a cashier? Why does the little shop in the airport have more of these self-service lanes than they do cashiers with stuff? Why do you see grocery stores and department stores now having these things? Well, obviously, it's two things. One, cost efficiency for the business, because having self-service lanes means you can have more availability for customers to go through than you have to pay people to stand there and do that. And even like a cashier at a McDonald's, you can have 3 or 4 kiosks set up so that you can have people going up and doing those, and not have to pay a single person to have to stand there. Now there another place where I've seen self-service kiosks is also in the airport, but at the check-in part with the airlines. And a lot of the airlines will have these little islands set up, these little groupings of these computer things where you can go up and you can self check in and get your boarding pass if you need it. I already have mine on my phone, so it's not an issue for me. But if you're checking in, you need your boarding, you can print that off there. Generally, I only see it if I have to actually physically check a bag, which I try not to do, but sometimes you got to do it. And so you can get your sticker thing there, and then you can put it on the bag yourself and then wheel it over. I hear a siren. Somebody in trouble. They were late tuning into the front porch. No, seriously, but what's funny is, and this is what made me think of this, is in all of these self-service options, yeah, they can cut way down on the staffing, but they can't eliminate staffing altogether. Why? Because there are people who cannot handle the self-service thing. There are people who get frustrated that maybe they have computer or technology anxiety and they just aren't very good at it, or for one reason or another, their comprehension level does not allow them to quickly process what's going on the screen in front of them. And I'm not being mean or critical or snide. There just could be any number of reasons why that would be the case. And so in those situations, this person is still a customer. In order to keep things moving along, you have to have a person there to help them. And in those instances, in all of these situations, the restaurant, the airport gift shop, the airport check-in, like I'm just talking about now, the airline check-in, or the department store, the grocery store, department store option, in all of these instances, I have witnessed where the assigned individual or individuals who are there to babysit over the area of the self-checkouts literally go over and guide someone through this process. Now, there are places like, there's a Walmart here in Des Moines that has, I don't know, probably 20 self-checkouts, a big kind of oval-shaped pool where you go in through this one section and then you can go off to either side to the little self-checkouts that are all the way around, and then there's just 2 exits out of that, and so they kind of guide the traffic. And then there's like, I don't know, 2 or 3 Walmart workers that are just floating around inside there helping people. And in those instances, not just at the Walmart, but in all these places I've seen this, where somebody's having trouble on a self-service machine, and this person goes over, doesn't do it for them, but so let's say it's me. Let's say I'm the one struggling with things. They come over and they would tell me step by step. Okay, now do this, touch that, push it. They're not touching it for me. They're saying touch it. Now, you can say, well, they're just trying to teach you how to do that. I remember, I'm an instructor. I know what teaching looks like. That's not what's happening. They're just walking me through. They're not explaining anything. They're not going, so they're saying, so do you have a bag to check? Yeah, how many bags? 2? Okay, so on there, push that until it says 2. Push it, blah, blah, blah. Now, would that help me? Would I learn? Sure. So I'm not being critical of that. However, the thing that always strikes me amusing is this individual is getting paid to have me do the work. I'm not getting paid to do that. I'm actually the paying customer, and yet this person who is getting paid to be there is guiding me through doing a job that somebody that works there used to do for me. Now, again, in my case, I will say I'm not a critic of the self-check-in. In fact, I kind of like the self-check-in in most places, mostly because for me they're quicker. I'm not a high intensity kind of person, but sometimes I can grow a little impatient when I'm standing in a checkout line behind people who are really slow or have a lot of stuff, or even worse, a checkout person who is really slow. And people in front of me, they don't all have that much, but the line is moving slow because the checkout person is slow. And so I like to have a little bit of control over my own speed. Just walk in, go to the checkout, the self-checkout, whoop, 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 whoop. Now, and that works for me. I don't mind that. However, even in that instance, there are still times where I will run into an issue where something doesn't scan right, or there's some stuff like if I buy a DVD or a video game or something that has the little locked plastic box thing on it, a memory stick, thumb drive kind of thing that sometimes come in those kind of packages. Well, you got to have somebody that is actually paid to be there, come over with a little magic key and unlock that thing and let it out for you. But so there is still some of that is still relevant. And if I've got a bunch of stuff or some stuff like that, sometimes I'll just grit my teeth and go through the regular checkout, because in those instances it might actually wind up being quicker if I've got several things that are going to need that kind of special attention. But self-checkout in all these different contexts put in place for the business to save money and to help the customer, to make it more efficient for us. However, as is the case with almost everything, it is possible to swing the pendulum too far. And in this case, the indication the pendulum may have swung too far shows up in the element of theft. Yes, and this is not a how-to video on how to steal from self-checkout. That's not. But realistically, there's very little to stop somebody. Now, at a fast food restaurant or something like that, it's a little hard to commit theft there because, you got to pay. You type the order in and you've got to pay for it right there. And they're not going to make something for you that you didn't put on the list. So that actually is a fairly secure way of doing it. It's kind of like a hybrid of like an online ordering, an Amazon or something, where Amazon isn't shipping it to you until you've paid for it. So but so we'll set that fast food example aside. Let's just talk about like at the store, the little shop in the airport, or the grocery stores, the department stores. Those kind of places. There's very little to prevent somebody who is really sly and quick of taking a few extra little things that they don't scan. And what I say little things because a lot of times, like Walmart, for example, I haven't seen Target do this. Maybe Target trusts their customers more. I don't know. but Walmart, it's fairly routine. They've got the greeter person there who's always been there, the Walmart greeter kind of person. But now that person has double duty. That as people are leaving, they oftentimes stop the person, ask for the receipt, and look for things. But they generally look for the big things, especially the things that are not in a bag. So like, big thing of toilet paper, or, beverages, or, some play toy things, whatever stuff that's, larger. that's just on its own. Stuff that's in the bags, I've never been asked for them to validate any of that stuff, and I've never seen them validate anyone else's. I'm not trying to give you ideas. But we already know theft is a problem in stores like that, like a Walmart, for example, because increasingly there's more and more stuff that I notice on the shelves, especially in the health and beauty or pharmacy sections, that are not even now just out available on the shelves, that there's some kind of a locked panel, and you have to go get somebody to come and unlock that for you to give you access to it. Why? Because they've had people stealing stuff. That's why. Well, the same thing is the issue that stores are running into with, and grocery stores have seen it too, with people, the old scan one for the store and one for me. Scan one for the store, one for me, whatever. And so with that, I'm now seeing that self-service pendulum went all the way over here, and now it's kind of swinging back just a bit. Like my favorite grocery store here, Hy-Vee, I've noticed that they actually have done away. They've taken out some of their self-service lanes. They had a lot more. They still have several, but they've taken a lot of them out. They've now added more staff people, so they have more staffed lanes, and they've said that the self-service lanes are only for I think 12 items or less. And Target, I think, has started doing the same thing also. I haven't checked every store, but I believe Target is now doing that same thing. So what that is, now that annoys me, because again, I said I like the self-service stuff, and I discovered this, the hard way, that I went to Hy-Vee. I had a bunch of stuff in my cart, and I walk right by this really big red sign with white letters on it that says, self-checkout is for 12 items. Completely oblivious to it, ignored it completely, walked right past it into the self-checkout area, just like I have done 100 times. And I walk in, and the designated babysitter of the self-checkouts comes over and says, "Sir, I'm sorry, but this area is reserved for 12 items unless you're going to have to go to one of the regular lanes." Now, that annoyed me. It annoyed me because I was prepared to just boom, I'm gone. Now I gotta go play that shell game of okay, well, which line looks the shortest, which group of people look like they have the fewest things, and there's 4 lanes open, and you're zipping back and forth, and you're like, well, do I take a gamble on this one, or do I take a gamble on that? Back to playing that game again, and I didn't like that. That bothered me, and so there's just no keeping you happy, Paul. I guess not. But you spoiled me, your stores, with this self-checkout thing that you then yanked back away from me. But the reason, if the self-checkouts are put in to reduce staffing, well, now we've undone that because we've added more staffing. And if it was put in to make things more convenient for the customer, well, in my case, that was not convenient for me either. So both of those reasons for self-checkout, the way that we plunged into that, have been pulled back on. Why? Because of theft. Because of stuff being, people showing up with big grocery carts, going through and scanning some and not all, and it not being properly checked. Now at Hy-Vee, I don't know that I've ever been asked to validate anything with a receipt. I don't think I've ever been asked at like I said, at Target either. Walmart, it's hit and miss. But if I have anything unbagged in my cart, they generally always like to stop, and I don't give them grief about it. Some people give them grief about that, but I understand it's their job. And so, if I've got some stuff, like I've got a big package of toilet paper or something in my shopping cart and I'm walking out, I have my receipt right in my hand. I'm walking up and I just hand it to them. Whether they've even tried to stop me or not, I just offer. There have been a few times they've waved me on. They're just like, nah, just go. But it's okay. I don't get upset about that. But anyway, there are other places like Sam's Club, though, that Sam's Club, you literally go through a checkout with a person. There's literally a person who has scanned all your stuff, and yet before you can leave, another person is going to look at your receipt, and they are going to do an inventory of what you got. It's like, so apparently if we're going to gauge based on the security to validate what you have, Sam's Club has the worst criminals. Must be, because they have to have a checkout person take care of the stuff for you. You don't get to self checkout, and they're going to have somebody else that's going to validate your but somehow you didn't magically, between the checkout and the exit door, throw a bunch of other stuff into your cart. But anyway, I have found this to be very interesting. It's a very interesting thing, this idea of the self-service is a good idea. I don't fault the idea. Now, there are some who say, yeah, but you're taking jobs away from people. That is true, although they're not really very good jobs. I mean, as far as the pay and the hours and having to just stand there and some of the people you got to put up with, woo! I've been in line behind some winners. Let me tell you that I'm glad I wasn't the person who was having to be nice to them at the checkout. So I mean, but there is still validity that, if someone's getting paid to do that, then someone's getting paid to do that. And so yeah, I don't completely discount that. But the reality, there are legitimate business reasons for the self-service thing to have been tried. If all things were equal, it should have been successful. And it should have gone further. Like there's even, and I won't get into all it because I don't understand exactly how it works, but like in some of the airports, there are some of those little gift shop, snack shops that don't even have a person in them. That you walk in and you get your stuff, and at some point I think you have to swipe a card, you're there. But you don't even scan the stuff. Somehow it knows. It's got sensors and cameras, and I don't know how they're all tracking all of that. So that's a little beyond my pay grade. But you get the stuff and you just leave with the stuff, and it gets charged to you. And it's like, wow. And those kind of things theoretically should work just fine. But then there's the Achilles heel, people. Wherever people are involved, we will find a way to screw it up. I'm just saying. And that's the case of the self-service. A lot of people, like myself, find value in that and find that to be something that works well for us. Unfortunately, there are also people who will always look for a way to exploit a situation for their own nefarious gain, we'll say that. And that's the case here. Because of theft, because of people not scanning stuff correctly, and I would like to say it's all just by mistake because they had so much they got lost. I don't think that's the case, though. Sorry, I'm just a little too cynical maybe to accept that being the case. I think it was intentional. I think that stores have been seeing tremendous loss of inventory, and so this is a way for them to crack down on it by now saying, okay, we were going to do full self-service, but now we're going to swing that pendulum back a little bit, and we're going to constrict it a bit. We're going to manage that a bit more and kind of go to a bit more of a hybrid option. And you'd think that would make most people happy. It doesn't make me happy because if I have more than 12 items, I don't get to go through the self-checkout. Now, I will say this. Because somebody's bound to watch this and make the observation. If I really don't want to have to hassle with the people, I can, like at Hy-Vee, I can place my order on the app. I can go in the app and I can place my order for all I want, and then really I can just pull up to one of their designated spots, and a person at the store just wheels the cart out and puts it in. But again, that's a situation where it's like the McDonald's thing doing an almost Amazon-like thing where I've ordered it and paid for it before anything is brought out to me. And so the ease of that scenario, if they just bring it out to me, is because I already selected it and paid for it. I still did my own cashiering, technically speaking. But so there is that option. I understand that. But if I want to actually go into the store and pick stuff off the shelves and then leave, now some of my options, to do self-checkout are limited because others could not limit themselves with their sticky fingers, and that's unfortunate. But that is all too often the story, that things, what's the old saying? This is why we can't have nice things. Yeah, because there are some individuals who just abuse an opportunity and ruin it for everybody else. Anyway, that's my I don't know, grumpy old man complaining, my first world problem issues. I can't go in and scan stuff myself on the self-checkout. I'm not asking for any sympathy, but I do think it's an interesting observation, both of this transition of the use of facilitated technology in the consumer marketplace, and how that has to balance human influence, negative human influence. This balancing act between what are you going to do. So anyway, I have no other point to this. You're probably glad because you're like, Paul, gee, you've prattled on and on and on. I have, but it's been a little while since I did one of these. I've been distracted with some other things, and this was just on my mind, and so now it's out there in the stratosphere, or whatever fear. It's the fear. All right, with that, I'll let y'all go, and I'll see you next time from my front porch.